Hello, and welcome back to another Chris McPherson Show daily dose. And it's time to unpack some international rugby as another loss for the Wallabies closes out what I think it's fair to say has been a challenging set of autumn internationals for the Australian side. Certainly some positives to take out of today's game, but still a lot of question marks, a lot of issues. There's a lot of players out with injury, we know that, and that was added to today in the lead up. But there's a lot of question marks to this Wallabies side. But in the meantime, if you're joining us for the first time, hit subscribe and you can follow along on our social media channels at The Chris Mack Show. You can find us on X, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Facebook. But it's time to dig into what's happening in those autumn internationals. And we'll close it out with the Wallabies. Let's start with Japan getting a little bit of revenge, it might be said. After getting heartbreak last week with a last-minute penalty goal, lost to Wales, they did it themselves with a win this time against Georgia, 25-23, thanks to an 81st minute penalty goal, which gave them the win there. So well done to the Japanese getting a win under Eddie Jones. We don't want to give them too much credit, obviously. We know where that stands with Eddie. In other games, though, the big games, the Welsh, they put up some points against the All Blacks, but couldn't really get enough done. New Zealand winning that one, adding some ice late to make it a 26-point margin victory, 52-26. They got that one done, so a 7-try victory for the All Blacks. In other games as well, South Africa were too strong for the Irish. Now, this one was a game, I think it's fair to say, it was chaotic. It was a bit of a mess. There was, I think, 5 or 6 cards in total. The Irish were down to 12 at one point. So a bizarre result all in all. As we record, Italy and Chile are still in play. And there's a couple of other matches too, still waiting results. Portugal versus Canada and Fiji getting it done in a tight one versus Spain. So that kind of rolls out the last full weekend of the autumn internationals with 1 day of play to come. 2 games in the early morning of Australian hours. Scotland will take on Tonga and England will take on Argentina at 3 a.m. from Twickenham. In what is probably fair to say an intriguing clash, that one. The English will go in as warm favourites, but the Argentinians have been much improved. They're up to number 6 in the world rankings, so certainly an interesting game from that point of view. But let's move on to talking about the main game we're here for. It is the French taking on Australia, and it was a tight arm wrestle, I think it's fair to say, in the opening exchanges through half-time. It was 19-all going into half-time. And the Wallabies, look, they showed some better signs. I think that's fair to say. The line-out was much improved. They won 13 of their own line-outs, only lost 3, so that's about an 80% success rate, which is positive. They didn't lose a scrum. There were some questionable things going on late in that game in the scrum in terms of I'm going to be honest, it looked like he was just doing a rugby league effort at the halves at the end there, just feeding it around the breakaways feet, basically. But again, we'll take what we can. But again, lots of positives to come out of it. I think there's still some question marks around our first choice 10. Whether or not we're getting the best out of Joseph Suali'i is certainly a question as well, and how we do that. Philippe Dagunu looked really good when he came on. Len Ikitau was solid as always. Harry Wilson got through plenty of work. Fraser McWright had impact. Rob Valentini probably a little quieter once he came on from the bench. But again, lots of positives. The tackling was a lot better today, only 7 missed tackles. We won some turnovers. We did concede some turnovers, which is probably a little concerning. But I think all in all, a better performance. Was impressed with our front row. Faisler looked good. Pollard, he'd been doing great work in play, but Faisler did really well. Seemed to get his line out sorted after a first loose throw. Our back row, Hooper, McWright, Wilson, that looked really good. Edmed probably didn't have a lot of creativity, but Gordon added some spark at 9. Again, our back 3 was solid without being world beaters today. Max Jorgensen's individual try, though, was absolutely brilliant. And they're up against a really good back 3, most notably Ramos and Bielle-Biarrey for the French. So Alatoa was good when he came on off the bench. Tizano's discipline, again, a little bit of a concern for mine. Gave away a penalty as soon as he came on. We got to look at Kalani Thomas, which was positive. Josh Nassau got a try, which we'll get into in a moment. But look, as I said, much more positive, but still, that is, it's another result that didn't go the Wallabies' way. And when you have a look at what the results have been on this tour, it kind of doesn't bode well. Conceded 48 today against France. He admittedly got more points. Conceded 46 the week before and lost against Ireland. Conceded 26 to lose by 7 to Italy. Conceded 25 and only got 1 try against England. And then only just scraped home against Japan. 2 losses before that to New Zealand and a loss to Argentina, which now means that the Wallabies have won 1 of their last 8 games, 2 of their last 10. It's starting to build into some numbers, and that win against South Africa in South Africa after a really slow start all the way back in August, as well as the win over the British and Irish Lions, seem a long time ago. We've played 10 tests since those 2 games, but even if you add those in, that's 4 from our last 12 that we've won, counting the whole British and Irish Lions series, and it's 4 from 14. And if we go back to the start of the year, it's 5 from 15, so just a 1 in 3 win rate. And when you consider, we've played Argentina twice in there, who we would think that we should beat. We've played Japan, we've played Italy, we've played Fiji. Look, to be honest, it's just not good enough in terms of calendar year from the Wallabies. 5 from 15, and some, get out of jails against Argentina and Japan, even against Fiji. Like, we haven't been convincing in any of our wins. We've been convincing in a few of our losses, but it's a real concern. So in terms of this game, though, this is probably one of the better showings of our tour, especially when you consider that Pollard and Carter Gordon, that is, were late withdrawals. Again, 5 tries. Fazer got the first try for us, got things open really quickly. We led 5-0 at that point. We then got another one through Bell as we were trading tries with the French to sort of get us back into the game. And I'll tell you what a try that was. Everyone loves seeing a front rower in a little bit of open space, a bit of footwork to step through a gap and then just burning his opposite number to get a try. So that was wonderful. Fazer got another before half-time. It was 19 all at the break. And, there's lots of reasons to feel positive, I think. But then the French came out to start the second half and, they scored after took the penalty goal to get the lead early in that second half. They then scored to extend that out a little bit. They got out to that a little bit more of a lead. We got one back, but then all of a sudden they put a few on. NASA got one back for us late, but then they sealed it again with Lamoth's try. And it just felt once that second half got underway, even the Jorgensen one, which was against the run of play, but a brilliant individual try where he got set free on the left and all of a sudden looked like he was running out of space, managed to tow it back inside for himself and get there and get it down. And even though we did really well with that try, it was really against the run of play. And I think that probably summed up where we were looking at in that second half. We just don't seem to have the consistency and the depth to challenge with these teams. And look, I don't think France were anywhere near their best. Their discipline certainly was pretty ordinary. They'll admit that they had 6 turnovers. They gave away quite a number of penalties as well, 12 in the end. We gave away a few late, which actually ended up meaning that after I think we led the penalty count 9-4 at one point, we ended up losing it 13-12. Yellow card each. Just, again, the Wallabies need to go back to the drawing board. I'm not sure where we find it, but I think, it starts at grassroots, and I'm really concerned for where we sit in terms of the 2027 World Cup. It's a concerning piece. It's going to be a challenge for us as to where we shape this team from here. There's some really good blocks in there. I think, in terms of probably our front row is good. Obviously, our second row, we should hopefully welcome back in Will Skelton at some point. I know there's a lot of injuries as well. Maybe Liner coming in at 10 might sort that out, but we didn't really have the creative outlet there. A lot of individual things, a lot of just simple shapes being run off either the 9 or even just ball players moving forward. But I don't think Edmed's the solution. And I think we're really struggling for depth in that 10 spot at the moment. So, again, we need some creative players. I don't know where we find them from, but that's the big question. But in the meantime, the good news is the Wallabies won't lose next week because we don't have a game. That's about the best I can take from this. It's really depressing as a Wallabies fan. As I said, 5 from 15 wins this year. That about sums it up. I'm going to close it out there. A big thank you for tuning in again to another episode of the Chris McPherson Show Daily Dose. Another Wallabies loss. Well done to the French. A good win. A very scrappy first half from them that allowed us to stay in the game, but a good second half, and they got away with it in the end and got the win which they deserved, which helps them bounce back from their loss last week. and we move on. But again, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to hit subscribe on whatever platform you're tuning in on. And of course, you can follow us along on your social media channels at The Chris Mack Show. If you haven't already, jump into the comments. Let us know what you thought. Let me know if I'm being too pessimistic, too optimistic. But again, a big thanks for tuning in to your home of the black and white of sports. No grey opinions here.